Hello everybody, we're at Seffi's. We're going to put a little makeup tutorial for you together. So first thing to do is to make sure your skin is really well moisturised. So this is a moisturiser. Obviously you can use whichever moisturiser you want, but that's the first step for your skin. Second step is some kind of primer. So I think Seffi's got two here. She's got a particular pore one for nose, chin.
Yeah, all of my kind of T-zone area, I tend to use that bit on.
And then also just like a more generic, basic primer. So if you want to have both, go for something similar, or I think arguably you can just use one sort of main primer. So moisturise, then primer. So once you've done that, then you're ready to move on to a full coverage foundation and a concealer. And we've got various things. We've got a brush and we've also got a sponge somewhere, I think. Where's your little sponge gone? That we'll be using to put that on. So let's get started.
So I'm just going to put a little blob of this one on the back of my hand, and I have quite pory, quite visible pores and bumpy skin around here. So kind of I find this really useful for evening it out, because the kind of skin that we need to get is like porcelain skin. It needs to be like perfect porcelain dull type effect of your skin. For the look that we're going for the era. Their skin was beautiful. I'm not very good at doing this and talking at the same time, and I wouldn't ever profess to be a makeup expert, but hopefully this will help somebody somewhere. So you can see it's just starting to even out my skin a little bit, and I'm just literally dabbing it on with my finger. I'm sure some makeup professionals would say use a brush, but yeah, I like a finger. Helena. So here's just a bit of the primer, quite a bit of the primer. I'm taking quite a lot, and because it's stage makeup and it needs to be as dramatic as possible, I'm going to use a lot of this, and I'm going to use it over my whole face, including my eyelids. So I'm just going to dab it on everywhere and then start to blend in. So I might even need a little bit more.
So just to be clear, this is just still the primer. This isn't the foundation yet.
No, this is just the primer.
This step is actually really important if we're going to get really good looking skin, which is what we want.
Yeah, this is a relatively cheap primer that I've picked up, and I sometimes just use this as a foundation in my everyday, or not that I wear makeup every day, but if I'm, going out on a night, sometimes I won't use the foundation, I'll just use this. I think it's really nice and moisturising, so if you've got slightly dry skin. So that's this one, a Max Factor one. There we go. So hopefully I'm going to leave that to just to absorb in a little bit, because it is very moisturising, before I start putting anything else on. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go in with just a little bit of a concealer now around the same areas that I put the pore primer on, and just to try and help prepare the skin before I put the foundation on. So I always go into the corner around my nose, where I get quite a lot of redness. So this is kind of really individual about where people might need it or want it. And again, I just like to use my finger to dab it on. And it helps to take out some of the redness from my skin before I put the foundation on, particularly as we want a bit more of a heavy coverage. I also have my this one, but I'll pop this one on after I've done my foundation. And that one's like I guess it's like a light reflecting type one, so it almost gives you a bit of highlight, so it's really good for those dark circles under my eyes after. So I kind of go in with that one after, to try and hide any of the bits I don't want to be seen after my foundation's been put on. So foundation, I've just popped it on the back of my hand, and I've taken a foundation brush. I do use a brush for my foundation because it helps to get a much heavier coverage over my skin. So I'm going to take it right back. So I want to get rid of all of the kind of pigment in my skin and build up a really I'm going to go for a really flat base to start off with, so it's literally going to be really thickly covered, so you can kind of see how much I'm actually applying. Because it's stage makeup, I wouldn't put this kind of level of foundation. I probably wouldn't use this particular foundation if it wasn't for makeup on the stage. And I'm going right up into my eyes. Please excuse my eyebrows, I haven't plucked them. They are like some very furry caterpillars. But actually, for the particular makeup that we're needing to do, that's not such a bad thing. So I am just putting it on kind of almost with a trowel. I'm not worrying about getting it over my lips, I'm worrying about making sure that I've got it all over my face. So I'm going to need a little bit more on the back of my hand. It does look awful, and that's perfectly okay for what we're trying to do.
I think it's key to remember that we're trying to balance what's accurate with the era with what will show up on stage. So what you're seeing us do today is trying to balance those two things. We're trying to keep it in line with 1940s, because obviously that's important, but we also want this makeup to be able to be seen on stage, and that is a different thing. If any of you've done shows before, you'll know that it has to be more contrast than you would do normally.
So I painted it on, and I'm now just going over with a blending sponge, which if you can see that it's just starting to even it out. I'll try and look in the mirror and show you. So it makes it look more like my skin rather than the foundation on top of it. But you can start to see that that's giving me a much more even complexion and a much better base to put all of the colours on that I'm going to put on later. There you go. It's a bit of contouring stick and some of my clicky Instant Radiance number 7 one. The Touche Eclat one I think is the one that everyone used to like of these, but I really like them. And you can kind of see that my bag under my eye there from the lack of sleep is starting to disappear. I'll give you a comparison, although I have just wiped it in my actual eye. Don't do that when you're doing this for dimension, so my eye might start to water. And I'm going right in around there just to try and get a really nice flat base to work on the eye with in a minute, which will really help with the eyeshadow or the eye makeup that we're having to do. Put some black there for a comparison on the eyes. Hopefully you can see the difference.
You can,
and then I will still go back in around my nose socket, and that's where this one I think is particularly helpful for the type of skin that we're going for. So any little bits now that I might need to just hide away, particularly where I have redness, it's a really good little highlighter. So I'm going to go on my chin there, and you can hopefully see that will just lift up my chin. And I've done this side of my face and not this side, so hopefully you can see the difference, particularly around here and under the eye, of the difference that this particular thing makes. So I'm going to go back and finish off the rest of it. I put my contouring and blush on. I'm just going to go over with a quick powder just to set it, because we are getting some bits of my brush coming off. Because we need the makeup to last. It's not what I would necessarily normally do, but also the era of the skin was very, very, very matte, so you don't want any particularly shiny parts, although we are going to use some highlighter because it's stage makeup and we need to make sure that we're popping. I'm not going to worry about my jaw or anything like that, so I'm not doing proper makeup for any of the aficionados out there. There we are. So I've popped on a bit of powder just to set it, and I'm going to go and grab my highlighter, so not my highlighter, my blusher and my contour thing. I think most of you will probably need a darker one. This is only going to show you a little bit. I'm probably going to go and buy a darker one for the stage makeup because it needs to be a bit more dramatic. And I've got a cream blush. I really like cream blushes because they're really nice and easy to just dab on with your finger. This was quite a cheap one really, and and actually cream blushes were completely and utterly of the era, so they work for me and they work for the era that we're trying to go for. So for anyone who hasn't contoured before, and to be honest, I don't contour at all, it's all the rage at the moment, but you end up, you have a darker colour and a lighter colour. So I've just got this really cheap stick that I bought from Revolution the other day. It's obviously got the two caps on it, so it's got a dark one and a light one. You can get loads of different contouring, so whatever you've got. I've probably gone for a slightly lighter foundation because it's porcelain skin. I've gone for my winter. I'm really not this makeup-y, but I've gone for more of a winter skin tone rather than my more summer brown one, so that it creates more of that porcelain skin. So here's the contour. So I'm going to contour into underneath my cheekbone here. So you want quite a lot. You can see it's not actually that dark, but I'm literally just drawing the line. See some bits I just need to smudge into. And then I'm going to come up around my face, up here. Ooh, perhaps not into my hair. And I'm putting on quite a lot. And like I say, I probably need a darker one for stage makeup. So I have one of those. And then I'm going to use the lighter one just in the bits that we want to highlight. So I'm going to go up on my cheeks up here. I'm going to put a bit on my nose. A bit where I was saying I was highlighting my chin earlier. I might actually just use the darker one just to give myself a bit of nose definition too. This is not generally something that I would ever use. It really isn't my cup of tea. Lots of people like using it at the moment, but I think for this type of makeup it's really helpful. I'm also going to put in a little bit of my cream blush as well. I'm just going to rub my finger on it and then just put that onto my apple, my cheek. Okay, so you can see I've got some lovely stripes of colour going on there, and I'm just going to use the foundation sponge that I was using earlier just to blend that in.
So this is like the finished foundation layer. We've got lovely contouring, we've got a bit of blush on the cheeks. We might well have this just a little bit more defined once Sophie says she's bought a slightly darker contouring, but this is the kind of base look that we're going to go for. And then we're going to show you the eyes and the lip.
So I'm going to show you how to do an eyeliner. There are lots of tips and tricks, so if you're ever worried about it, you can find lots of different things that you can do to make it slightly easier. Excuse me. So it's this one that I showed everybody that I really like. It comes with this really lovely brush that's got a smudging point and a brush tip on the top. It's worth, I haven't cleaned it and I think it could probably do with a little bit of a clean, and it's worth wetting it sometimes just to get a really nice fine point on it. And then you can kind of go into the eye. I start off in the middle and I just go right above the, hopefully you can see this, right above my eyelashes. So I'm just following the eyelash line and bringing it out right to the outer corner of my eye. Not very good at I'm doing this and talking, so I might have to go a bit quiet. But I'm going to just keep working it out of my eye and gradually build it up so it gets thicker and thicker and thicker until I get to the required thickness. And for the kind of makeup that we're doing, it does need to be quite thick because it needs to stand out on stage. And if you're putting on false eyelashes, you need it to be thick enough that it will still stand out once you've got the false eyelashes on as well. So I'm just making sure that there aren't any gappy bits where my eyelashes are. And with my slightly aged eyes, I'm just checking by pulling my eye slightly, just so that I can really see. But you can see the brush is really, really, really great for being really, really accurate. I'm getting a nice smooth line. So I'm going to come back out again and gradually thicken that line up again. So you're going to need a slight flick, a slight wing coming out. So I'm going to come from here. I'm just going to pull the brush out. So I've had a bit of a splodge there, but don't worry about it. That is what cotton buds are for. So I don't want a lot, it's just a little bit, just to give us that dramatic effect. And then I'm going to come in and fill in, so that I fill in across to the line. I'm going to take that across, so I want it really back to the tip. So I was using the side of the brush to do that bit a little bit more, and I'm going back to the very tip of the brush where it's really nice and thin, so that I can take a nice thin line away from there. And it isn't, I haven't tidied it up yet, that isn't, I'm not happy with how it looks, but I'm just working through it at the moment. So I tend to take it quite thin as I go into the corner of my eye, and then allow it to kind of thicken up. As I come away from my eye. So I'm still gradually making it slightly bigger. So you can see just under there, it's gone a little bit smudgy, so I'm just going to take my cotton bud and just draw it on, and you can see, there you go, it's sharpened it right up already. It's a bit of a fluffy bottom there. Okay. So there's my winged eye. An eyeshadow. So the we tried a few different things out, and we actually found that what stood out the most was a really bright eye. So I've got just a random collection of one of my brown eyeshadows, and I'm just going to use the very lightest colour of that brown eyeshadow, and I'm going to use my finger. I'm going to drop it everywhere. I'm going to use my finger, and I'm just going to take that onto my eyelid, and I'm going to take it all over my eyelid. So I'm not just going in to this part and going up, all up, right up into almost up to my eyebrow really, because then I'm going to stick some highlight on it afterwards. So I always do my eyeliner first, and then kind of just let it dry, and then I go over with my eyeshadow, because the eyeliner is the thing I find that I am more likely to go wrong with. So if I've done all of my eyeshadow first and got that the way I want it, and then I mess up my eyeliner, and then I have to start all over again. So if, like me, and you're a little bit more anxious or less confident doing your liner, then I recommend that you go into you do the liner first, and then you do your eyeshadows afterwards. And I'll show you how I then tidy it up afterwards once I've done all the shadows. So I'm also going into this little corner part of my eye in here, and almost down into the lower lash line a little bit. I'm also poking myself in the eye again, so that I can make my eye pop out a little bit more. And I am still using my finger. Actually, I did the other day use an eye applicator, and that made it a little bit easier to get in down here. Yeah, so that's the eyeshadow, and then I'm going to go back over and just reapply over the top and bring that black back up to a really strong black. But I've already got the line there that I need, So it makes it much easier to then follow it again. But again, if I do make a mistake, I can just go back and get one of my little cotton buds and sort it back out again. So I'm making sure I get right up to the top so there's no smudgy edges. There needs to be quite a sharp line. Hello, Milo. Milo's telling you that you're going to look amazing. Okay, so my eye already, just from the natural colour and the foundation, has a little bit of a colour in here. I don't really need to put anything else on my eye because I need it to pop when I'm on stage. So the only thing that I'm going to do is use some of the highlighter. I'm just going to give my finger a little wipe and some toilet roll so that I'm not ending up smudging the colours in. So the highlighter that we got for the last two conventions, so I don't need anything else, and I'm going to use that just up in the centre of my brow up here. Now I have really dark eyebrows, so I don't need to do too much in terms of making them stand out anymore. But the era was to have really prominent and high arched eyebrows. So if you need to create that, you can use a little bit of maybe the brown eyeshadow that I've got with just a little brush to go over your brow to make it stand out a little bit more. And you can also use the clicky concealer that I was using just around the edges, along with the highlighter that will just give you that definition to make those eyebrows just look like they are really, really prominently there with a nice prominent arch. So I mean, I'm lucky that mine are quite dark already, so I don't need to put much on. Don't know why I'm doing the other eye, because I haven't done the other eye and it doesn't need doing. I'm only doing one eye. I'm just getting a bit too carried away. I also, again, I'm going to take this, if I can find one of my eyeshadow applicators. No, I'll use a cotton bud then rather than an eyeshadow applicator. I'm going to put the highlighter into the corner of my eye as well, just in here, just like I did with the eyeshadow. And then I'm going to take it just out a little bit. Bit more of a pop, and to help give me nice big bright eyes. But Kirsty's going to help us sing a tune, isn't it? Big bright eyes. Eye makeup's going to make all the difference. So I'm going to curl my eyelashes. I will be putting false eyelashes on mine as well, so I probably will go a little bit deeper with my liner when I go to do that. So I've done 2 squeezes with my eyelash curler. One closer to the roots and one further out because it gives me flickier lashes, which I like. We also have Undenied about, should I put the sparkle?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to, I have this Dazzle powder. I think it wouldn't be convention if we didn't have a little bit of glitter. So I've got I'll put this in the link, this specific one. It's a Barry M one. Mine's quite old, but I went into Barry M and they still have them in Superdrug. So anyone can have this so that you get a bit of sparkle on your eye. And I'm just going to use my finger just so that I've still got that same bright coloured eye with very neutral eyeshadow, but I'm just putting a little bit of glitter on because, you know, convention requires glitter in some way, shape or form. It's kind of a white with a slight goldy tinge to it, so it's quite nice and of the era, I would say. I mean, I don't know, but probably will just put a little bit more liner on where I've just added that as well. Just to tidy it up where I've gone over it and keep that liner really nice and sharp. So whenever I need to get a good line, I get the tension by just giving my eye a little pull, and then I find that I can help to keep it straighter. If I try and do it with without my eye being pulled slightly, then I find I get a slight wobbly eye, which I've got just there where I did it just a second ago. But nothing is unfixable, and that's what I quite like about these things. Okay, so I'm going to go for lashings and lashings and lashings of mascara. I think with stage makeup and probably the look that we're going for, you cannot have enough mascara or lashes. It's all about the eye popping with your lashes and your liner. So you need mascara, 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 mascara. I've just got a Wonder Volume from Rimmel. It's not a particularly expensive one. And I'm going to apply it a lot. And hopefully you can see I didn't have particularly, well, there's my other lashes. And here are the lashes that I'm currently working on. So just with the curler, I've got a lot of lift from them. So for those of you that don't want to wear lashes, you can still get that lash effect just with mascara. Putting lots of it on. So you don't want them to clump together too much, but you need a bit, and you need to go underneath the eye. I think sometimes it's a bit scary, but it is going to make your eyes pop an awful lot more. So I'm going right down to the tip of my lashes. You could I don't know if you could just see that. I'll try it with these ones here, but they're a lot longer than you think they are. If you start getting to the tip, you can just build it up to get a lot more going on. And the same, I'm going to go right in there where I've got a clump on the end of it. There we go. So one finished eye.
So you can see the difference if you just turn this way. That one's got no makeup on it. And then we've got a really nice bright pop, which should be made even more with lip.
I'm going to do for my lips, I've got a little lip scrub to start off with, which is really handy for getting off any of the little bits of skin. And then I've just gone for a really bright red that would be kind of the era. This one was a Clinique one. They're just ones that I happen to have in my makeup box. So I'm just going to start by giving my lips a little scrub, and they'll go even more pale than they already are. Oh, and a bit black. So a bit like preparing my skin, it's great to help prepare my lips. So there we go. I'm now gone a slightly ghoulish. So there's my little scrub done. So I'm going to line my lips. It's always worth taking a line first, and I'm just going to use one of my cleaned eyeliner brushes to use as a lip liner brush. There's lots of tips and tricks again for this one that you can use, marking out different parts in your lip. I don't do that, so I'm just going to follow the line of my lip, but just on the outer side, so that it gives me slightly fuller. So I'm just rubbing the end of the brush. Like I said, these brushes are great, so I save them all the time. Every time I buy a new one, because they're really useful for lots of different things. So I'm just going to start, and I'm going to cut out along the edge of my lip and just keep picking up more pigment. I'm going to stop talking though, because I can't do this and talk. Just following the line of my lip. Again, don't worry about any kind of mistakes because you can get a cotton bud. And I could probably get a much finer line to line it, but it doesn't really matter because it's the colour that I'm going to be applying anyway. So I'm going to come up a little bit higher. I'm just trying to make sure that they're relatively symmetrical and even. But at the end of the day, my lips are what my lips are. Okay. So I'm now going to just paint in them in between. You could use the brush to fill in, but I'm just going to use my lipstick directly. So I'm just going to show, I've put the lip on. I haven't done the best job. It's not particularly symmetrical, but it will pop when it's on stage enough. So even if I ended up with this kind of lip on stage, that would show up enough. And I'm just going to dust a powder. I've just taken, my powder seems to have, loose powder seems to have exploded everywhere, so I'm just using the puff with my brush, and I'm going to dab that over the top. So that it sets the lipstick, and then I'll go and reapply the lipstick straight over the top, which is a way that you can make the lipstick last a little bit longer. So I've got quite wonky lips today, which I can tidy up, but just so you can see, there we go.